Hey everybody, how you doing? Looks like we are live. We made it to yet another Wednesday. It is so fantastic to see everybody. And it's November already. How crazy is that, right? November, I can't believe it. So today we have Mr. Roy all the way from New Jersey. How are you? We have Colette all the way from Wisconsin. Great to see you. And we have Patty all the way from Illinois. And we have Dwayne Marshall, San Luis Obispo. Go Mustangs. How are you, sir? The wicked master over there in California. Hey, Mr. Tone, how's it going today? Great to see you. I'm so glad you're here. All the way from Jersey. So very cool. So it's been a very busy day. Mr. Ryan, how's it going all the way from Canada? How are you today, Ryan? JC, all the way from the Atlanta area. Great to see you. Brad from Manitoba. How excellent it is to see you. What a great group. Just so fantastic to see you all. And we have Cheese Grits and NyQuil all the way from Massachusetts. Great to see you, Mr. Patrick. And so I really love the way all the great people are pouring in. So that always makes me feel amazing. I don't know if the camera, that's the camera. Okay, got two cameras. But I'm so excited to see everybody. You guys and girls are all so amazing, and I appreciate you so much hanging out with me on a Wednesday, on a chilly Wednesday in the, I guess, the eastern from the Mississippi on. It's pretty cold. How's the weather over there in San Luis Obispo? Mr. Dwayne, how is it there? Seasonable? Because here it's pretty chilly. You go outside, you turn right back around because it's cold. So really happy that everyone is here. So there were two things I wanted to discuss today that are kind of interesting topics. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the idea of black and white and color. I know a lot of you are probably wondering, you know, did I graduate to color? Is like I was, practicing with black and white and I moved on to color? That's not it at all. I find, and I like to hear your opinions on this, I find that without black and white, without mastering black and white, without mastering edges and value and line and all of these different things, proportion and anatomy, without learning them and mastering them in black and white, our color work is really going to suffer, because that is basically the skeleton, right? The skull and bones. And so without the black and white, the color will not be as strong. So even though I am working in color, I just want everyone to know I'm still working in black and white every day. I'm still making sure I'm using the black and white underpaintings and, continuing with value and line and edge work and all that stuff. What do you guys feel about black and white? Or monochromatic art, whether it's black and white or sepia or something like that. What are your all opinion on it? I just feel that it really takes a constant discipline of working in black and white to make our color work that much better. Colette says she loves working in black and white. Hey, Michael Rushing, thank you so much, my friend, for the super chat. Great to see you, my friend. And I really appreciate you very much. Now, Michael, I believe you are in the Atlanta area. Let me see if I got that right. But I want to thank you so much for your support, Michael. Thank you for sharing your work with me on Instagram. It's really fantastic, and really giving me a shot in the arm and the encouragement that regardless of what it looks like, I'm doing the right thing, showing up every Wednesday, and making this a priority in my life. When I get the support from you and other great people, I just want to say thank you so much, sir. I really, really appreciate you, and this is incredible. And every time I'm just so floored, and just thank you so much. Mike, you're really great. Thank you. Thank you. And keep up doing the great work. And Michael's working in color now, and it's really incredible. And he works in black and white as well. Just some excellent, excellent work you got going on there, Mike. So yeah, so the black and white is really, I took 3 years of just working in black and white. And I worked in color my whole life. And I basically just kind of righted that ship, and decided that, what, I'm going to push black and white. I'm going to push color. I'm going to push value and edges and all of that, line and proportion and anatomy. So now I'm kind of bringing it all together. So that is so cool. And yes, Patty's ornaments are incredible. Just want to say that. So definitely. So I want to show you guys something which is really great. I don't know if I have them. Let me bring them over. And I'm going to do a video on them. So, I don't know if you know, but Createx has these paints by Tim Gore. And they're called the Lifeline. And for those of you who struggle with mixing flesh tones, I really highly recommend it. Because what they have is a variety of flesh tones in your values from light to dark. And it's really quite excellent. And as you can see, you can go from your light values, your mid values, your darker values, to your darkest values. That's not to say that you're not going to want to add something to it, but it really gives you the basis of what colors to mix. And these are done with the illustration colors, so they erase the same. I mix them with 4011. You can also mix them with water. I like the 4011. So I did a test with them today, and they just blew it out of the park, right? They just knocked it out of the park. And I actually did it for an underpainting that I'm doing for an oil painting, which is really excellent. So, the airbrush and those. So I'm going to do a full painting. I don't know if it's going to be my next live stream or the one after that, but I'm going to do a full painting using Tim Gore's Lifeline. The guy's a genius. I just want to say, really great. And for anyone who's not sure about skin tones and getting those colors, really, really excellent. So Ryan says he has them. They're time savers. That's great. Dwayne says the Lifeline and Bloodline series are great. So you guys know about them, which is fantastic. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some detail, right? It's time for hitting some detail. And Mr. Dwayne says if you mix them with 4050, they will stick to any surface. Wow, so you can transform them to Wicked, right? Now that's incredible. That's really great advice, my friend. Okay, so I have my rag, and I'm looking for my plastic palette knife. And what I'm going to do is just kind of begin doing some detail in the beginning, and then from there come back in and kind of hit some of these darks, right? Because right now our darkest darks are not the values we want. We want to go a little bit darker, and kind of make the picture a little more punchy, right? That's what we want to do. That's kind of a photography kind of lingo, you know, make it more punchy by using like a smaller light modifier, and that will make the shadows a lot more stronger. And so that's where I get that word punchy from. And love the detail stage. Thanks, Ryan. And Dwayne says he uses the bloodline a lot. I can see why, because I was like, where have these paints been all my life, right? So now, what I'm going to do is I am going to mix up something with her. Let's work on that beautiful earring she has. Why not, right? Let's see. So we just do something detailed. Let's see. Here is my reference in Pure Ref. If you haven't got Pure Ref yet, highly recommend it. Scale of 1 to 10, it's a 12. So highly recommend that. And I have my 4050, which I'm going to use. Love the 4050. How can you not, right? It's amazing stuff. Okay, I'm going to put some 4050 down, some paintbrush work. And I'm going to use, now what's that color I like a lot? That smoke, right? You know, how can you go wrong with that detail smoke? So I'm just going to search for that. Of course, it's right behind my water, which I should have suspected. And I'm going to get a detail brush. And let's see if we can make this happen, guys and girls. Let's see, let's get rid of the picture of me. Where are we? There we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to take some of this black. Now, this is not a small brush, it's a big brush, but I'm going to try and do it with a big brush, right? Famous last words. Let's see. There we go. I think that's not bad. I could use a smaller brush, but using a bigger brush kind of forces me to be more careful. And just going to wipe this. Yeah, don't be a cowboy, Tim. Let's see if I use a smaller brush. Always do the 1 second rule, right? It always helps. So if you're going to paint for a second, you look for a second. If you're going to paint for 2 seconds, you look for 2 seconds. Just bring out her eyes more. Just make them more piercing and more giving us more an encounter with her. And that's what this whole painting's about, is this encounter. And just, so one of the things you want to do is you want to create more of a contrast where you want your eyes to go, right? And that's what I'm doing now. I want my viewer's eyes to go right into her eyes. Everyone else is blurry, everyone else is kind of out of focus, but the focus is between you and her. And that's my thinking of this. So a lot of people are at the SEMA show. That's pretty cool. One day I'd like to go there just to meet all of the wonderful airbrush people out there. I think that would be just amazing. What do you guys think? Would you guys like to go to the SEMA one year? And have you been there? Anyone out there been to it? I know you probably been there, Dwayne, because you've been in the business a long time. There we go. And then I'm going to come in with the highlight and really kind of make that pop. Make those eyes really pop. Oh, you went to one several years. Tell me about it. Was it a good experience, and was it a professionally? Was it worth it professionally as well as just getting to meet some of these great people? Now, I'm doing this whole painting in Wicked, right? I'm not going into anything else. There's no going into, uh, there's no going into illustration or golden. This is just straight Wicked. I'm going with the girl that took me to the dance, right? So I'm staying with Wicked. I'm not leaving midstream. So I just want to make that point. Now her eyes are this like really beautiful deep blue. So I'm going to mix. I want to do something, use a little bit of artistic license here. I have this color, this beautiful cobalt detail blue, right? Let's play around. That's a great thing about color. You know, once you get your values down, you can really be expressive with color. So that's, you know, one of the big advantages of working with color. I'm just searching for a detail airbrush, a detail paintbrush. Something that has a nice point to it. Here we go. Now you're talking. Pow! Look at that. That's nice. Okay. Now I'm going to keep it transparent. We're going to see what we can do. This might be too dark. No, I kind of like it. It has a nice transparency to it. I'm putting extra 40/50 on it. Now what I probably should have done was to put a very light base, but her eyes are dark. And what I'll do after this is I'll come in with some very light color and kind of hit those highlights once it's dry, right? But I like the blue. The blue eyes are really piercing. And this is detailed cobalt blue. Ryan says, what happens there stays there. Dwayne says it was, but also back in the drinking days, so the Vegas was a little blurry. Oh, man. And almost went this year, only have 6-hour drive, but work was busy, definitely. So you decided that you take care of the business, right? And that's always the best thing to do. Worry about the business you have before we worry about the business we don't have yet, right? That's so important. A lesson that, you know, is not always easy to learn. Okay, so now we're going to let that dry, but I have plans for her eyes. And let's see. So we are doing detail. So let's hit the light gold color of that earring, right? I think that's going to be fun. So I'm going to take this color here. This is Detail Raw Sienna. I like that. And I'm going to add some white to that. A little bit. And the white I'm going to be using is the Wicked White. A little more opaque, so that's why I'm going with the Wicked White. So the second thing I want to talk about, talked about the importance of black and white, and still do black and white projects while you're doing color work, because it's going to give your work that added basis, right? That added strength to it. I also wanted to talk about working in different mediums. So today I worked in, starting today I worked in Airbrush and India ink. I worked in Airbrush and Tim Gore paints, and I worked in oil paints, and then right now I'm working in Wicked. So I really think that the combination of working in those all those mediums really helps me to see things a lot clearer, because I'm seeing them through the eyes of several different mediums. This might be too light. It is. So we're just going to go with this darker value. And maybe we'll add a little detailed smoke. Now the detail, if you're using a paintbrush with it, you don't have much time. It's not something you have a lot of time to work with. They dry really fast, super fast. But I want to stay in the same medium. I don't want to switch. And talking about going from different mediums, I know the value of sticking with one medium a lot of times. I'm not a purist. I don't think it's like, bad or anything. But I believe if you stay with one medium, you kind of master what it does. And I think that's a plus. So I'm coming in here, and I'm going to come back in with the hair color and kind of get the neck. Brad, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate that. And Brad, thank you so much. Brad and I are actually experimenting, working on a painting in Wicked, and this time it's going to be on the Arches oil painting paper. So that's so exciting. So we're working on that together. Brad is one of my students in the mentor program, and thank you so much for all your support and being a loyal student of mine. I really appreciate you, sir, and I couldn't do without you. And I just want you to know that, Brad, very talented artist. He's going to have a show, a one-man show this June, and I can't be more proud as a teacher that one of my students is having a one-man show doing airbrush. So that is amazing, and thank you so much, sir. It really makes a huge difference. It just, I can't tell you. So Ryan says, Tim, do you ever use colored pencils for any details? Yes. I used them, I think 3 paintings ago on my live streams, and Michela, and I used it at the end. I think it's great. I think it's a great technique. And so that's why, learning colored pencils and different mediums is really important. Dwayne says he stays with one medium mostly for speed and ease. Time is money. That I can understand, because, you don't want to give your clients surprises, right, Dwayne? And I definitely understand that. And that's, when it comes to business, definitely. For me, what I'm doing is, I come from an environment. I'm classically trained, as everyone knows. And being classically trained, I basically learned how to paint every single medium, right? And by doing that, it allows me to kind of borrow from each of these mediums, right? I can just borrow from the India ink, and I kind of decided to do the airbrush in India ink, uh, use the airbrush with the India ink because I love India ink. I used to love that when I used to work on that when I went to art school. And same thing with pastel. I the way I apply color is very much like pastel. The way I mix my paints is very much like oil. So it's kind of a marriage of all these different experiences. And it kind of helps you to innovate. I guess that's the main thing. I think that by having different mediums, you get to innovate a lot faster. And that's just my opinion. But I really think that it's really great to have that. You know, when you can experiment. Of course, not on clients' work, right? They're not paying you to experiment. So I definitely understand where Mr. Dwayne is coming from. But for me, I'm always experimenting. I'm always pushing and sometimes going the wrong direction, but ultimately finding my own voice, right? So now I have this light yellow ochre in my brush here. And what I'm going to do, since I'm here, is I'm going to kind of hit the highlights of the hair, of her hair. And we'll see how it goes. It might go well, it might not, but we're just going to hit those highlights and kind of really get a sense of Persephone is in this environment of this subway, right? This moment in time. I'm going to get a little more paint here, a little more 40-50. Well, I think I got it dirty with some of the shadow color. See how this works. Got to get the color right. Okay, let's see. I may have to 40-50 it. This is a great brush. I'm able to really get some beautiful hairs. This is a brush from Rosemary and Company. If anyone wants 5% off your order at Rosemary and Company, let me know. I have a code. Basically, we'll pay for your shipping and handling. Nothing wrong with that. And really love the way that her hair, this kind of light yellow ochre. Plus, I like doing that because I'm echoing the colors, you know? And Dwayne says that he will play around with other stuff on his own project. Custom always get, yeah, definitely. You got to do what your client is expecting, right, Dwayne? So definitely hear that. And you can see how now I'm getting a little more volume in her hair, a little more 40-50. And so now we have the opportunity to kind of do some of these kind of wispy hairs coming out here. And maybe just a little bit of water. So I'm moving. And Mr. Todd, how are you? Great to see you, my friend. So I am moving, and I looked at some of my paintings that I've done, even in high school. I actually have paintings from high school. I still have them. Paintings I've done in the year 2000, when I first got married. I'm not married anymore, but when I first got married and how my work was different during that time. It's like a time capsule. If you ever look at some of your old paintings, It's like a time capsule. It takes you right back to where your life was, right? So what's new, Todd? How's life over there in San Diego? So glad you're here. And hair isn't perfect, so you don't have to be perfect. Oh, in the garage. Thank God you're not out here because you would be freezing. It's cold, this part of the country. But I do love this weather. This is my favorite weather in the world. Not complaining by any stretch of the imagination. And what I may do is come in and airbrush a little bit of a chestnut brown to kind of unify these lights. Really pretty the way her hair is coming out. If you're painting a woman, you better get her hair correct if you want to live. And just, there we go. I do get a little nervous that it's a little light, but that's okay because it is light. It's just kind of going against what my mind is thinking what it should be. Just some little hairs here and there. Okay, so I'm going to look at her hair as a whole. And I don't see too much more, but I do see maybe I could come in, be a little more forceful here with the hair. Let's see, like right here. The light is just as intense over here, so just got to make sure I make that happen. Same thing right here, it gets super intense. So see with our eyes, not with our minds. Okay. So basically, when it comes to, for me, working in different mediums, it's really crucial for me to kind of take the good and the bad, what like with oils, the bad may be that, it's very hard to get detail as opposed to airbrush, which is much easier to get detail. So you kind of take from one and kind of borrow it with another, right? So what are some of the things that you can do with detail? You know that a lot of times you can get better detail with transparent, so you can go ahead and say, all right, if I want detail that I use with transparents in airbrush, I can kind of use transparent paints with oils, and that's how you kind of bring the two together, so that's really important. So right now we're going to go back to her eyes, and remember we wanted to lighten up that beautiful blue, right? So we're going to take that blue and we're going to add some of our detail white to that, and it's a little bit powerful, so I'm going to add a tiny bit of our detail smoke just to calm it down a notch, right? As Emerald would say. And a little 40-50 to slick it up. Let's see how this works. Just the tiniest bit. It may be too light, it may not be. But with light pressure, you can do some really cool things. Let's zoom in, shall we? the power of DSLR cameras. So this is going to be, I only will probably have 4 more live streams at this location. I am moving. So it's going to be interesting where we land. So in December, our live streams are going to be at a new location. So that's going to be great. Hopefully not too many growing pains. Hopefully everything is a smooth transition. I pray. There we go. Just a little hint of that lighter blue, just to give a little translucency. Hey Ryan, how's it going, my friend? Great to see you all the way from Michigan. I saw on your post it's pretty cold over there too, huh, sir? Oh my God. So you are experiencing the cold as well. And then, so there we go. Just hitting a little bit of that translucency in her eyes. And then we're going to hit the catch light. Now, catch light is another saying that comes from photographers. And photography is a passion of mine. Not as much as painting, but it is a passion nonetheless. So that's pretty cool. Nice little translucency there. And now I'm going to hit this with some white, but I don't want to be too crazy with it, so I'm going to do a bluish white, but it's still going to be much brighter than everything around it. Let's see, right here. There we go, really nice. We'll do that in this eye as well. Wonderful. And let's clean up the white of her eye here. And I'm just going to do that. Now that's a little strong, so what I'm going to do, like how will I calm that down, right? Good question. So I'm going to add some detail smoke to this, and I can kind of calm this down. But I want to keep that edge as it is moving with the eye here. So kind of bring this over, and then we'll add the more white and see if we can blend this out. We can. There we go. We gotta be a little more forceful with our white. Yeah, we need more white, more white. Okay, let's see. There we go. And that's a little high in chroma, but very easily fixed. Okay, then we'll come in with some of the detail smoke and make it a deeper gray. Let's see. And pull this over here. And again, that's a little strong, so I'm looking for a good gray right now, because that's a little wild. And we'll get there. And then we'll just bring this gray over here. And you just stick with it. That's the important thing. Stick with it, and then we'll come in and we'll put a little lighter color in the white of her eye there. Let's see. There we go. You all had faith in me, didn't you? There we go. Just takes a moment to kind of get a handle on it. Sometimes the paint doesn't do exactly what you want it to do, and you just have to coax it a little bit. That's all. There we go. And now let's work on her other eye. So we're like really zoomed in, but when we zoom out, it's going to look really nice. We hope. There we go. Okay, and then over here we have a deep gray. So the detail smoke is really a fun color. I really love it. The wicked detail smoke. It's like an old friend. And then I want to hit this just a little bit of a shadow. So more of the detail smoke. Now this wicked dries really fast, so just know that. Just like digital art, you know, with pressure sensitivity, the same thing is, you know, really important, you know. Uh, the less pressure you have, the less it's going to affect your work, right? So let's take a look and see how she looks. See how her eyes are much more piercing, right? And Ryan says he loves it. Thank you, sir. And Ryan Barkley says working small for a face, definitely. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to, let's mix a kind of dark flesh color, right? A dark flesh color is going to be really good. That's going to help us with, you know, like the crease in the face and everything like that. So what I want to do is I want to go with, let's go with this color, which is a good color. It's Wicked Red Oxide. But what I want to do is I think I want to make it a little bit more on the opaque side. So I'm going to add a little bit, a tiny bit of white. And then some of my smoke. And I want to get, definitely want to get the white in there. I want to get the white involved. See what we can come up with. We might want to go a little more red. So I'm just going to test this right here. And let's see. I think that's a nice color for a lot of things. So let's zoom in and I'll show you my thought process here. So right here, I'm going to use very light pressure. And I'm just going to just very lightly kind of put in this kind of rust color as opposed to putting black in stuff like creases. This really helps get the feeling of flesh. And we'll move on over to this eye here. Same thing. Just so this is red detail red iron oxide. And also right here in her nostril, we want the feeling of not being a hole, but going into her body, which has all these blood vessels and everything like that. So that's very important. Same thing right here. And just a little bit, we'll go back in with the airbrush. But I just wanted to establish, my thought process on why you can't use black when it comes to areas in the face. You definitely want a fleshy color. Something like this red iron oxide. There we go. And then I'm going to come in with a pink right here. All right, so now we're going to be looking, we're going to go a little bit darker in here of the two lips, right? Patty, have a great night. Thanks so much for hanging out, and thank you. I really appreciate you. Mr. Diekman from Wisconsin, how are you, sir? Great to see you. How are you doing today? So I'm going to add a little bit of black to my mixture, just to make it a little bit deeper. And again, I'm going to test it to see what it looks like before. Oh, Glad, are you working too hard, sir? So right here, again with her lips, we have the crease of the lips. And what I can do is that from close up, it's not going to look right, but it will look right when you're looking at it at a normal distance. Still with that 1 second rule. There we go. And of course, we'll go ahead. But notice how it looks when we zoom out. It really gives it a nice punch, doesn't it? And I can also come in and calm down right there. I can see right at the corners of the lips, it's not quite right. Thank you, JC. Always a pleasure. And I hope you have a great night. And I love the work that I've seen from you. Just incredible, my friend. Really, really excited to see how great you're doing. So that's wonderful. I love that. I'm going to go to her eye and kind of calm that down right there. I went a little crazy. Let me see if I could. Just kind of do it in a shorthand. There we go. I think that worked. And then I come back to that. Okay, so now we have, which is interesting, we have the lights on the bottom of her eyelid, or the top ledge of her eyelid, lower eyelid. I'm just going to ever so lightly touch that. And we'll do the same on her other eyelid. So I'm using the yellow ochre and the white that I had earlier because it's here. Why not? So after this, I'm going to maybe do the detail on her nose, some of the lights on her nose, the specular highlights again. So there's a lot to be learned from different mediums. And that basically is my theme for this evening, is that, you know, my foray into photography. And when I land in my new location, I hope that I'll be able to set up my photography studio. See right here. There we go. That looks pretty good. Just down here, I think I went a little crazy. I'll come in with the airbrush and kind of calm that down. So there is some lights right there on her forehead. I mean on her nose. So I'm going to see if I can hit those specular highlights with this brush. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. Oh yeah, so definitely. So I'm going to come in with this detail white and the yellow ochre from earlier. I'm going to make it super thin and super light. And I'm just going to hit that light right there. And let's see if I can come up a little further. Up here kind of follows the upper lateral cartilage right after the alar cartilage. There we go. I like it. Okay. So there are times when you're like, I'm not sure, but there are times when you're like, I like it, and that's cool. And Mr. Cheese Grit says, my thumbs are too fat. All messages look like typing drunk. I'm terrible at typing too. Oh my God, that's for sure. So I love the little specular highlight right here. And then we have a little specular highlight right in the center because the lights are right above her. So the center of her upper eyelid is going to have a little bit lighter. So when you're doing a painting, it's not so much, you know, getting in there and having it look perfect from up close. Know what the distance is going to be and have it look perfect from that distance, right? So I'm not going to, so that's sort of my experience like with artists like John Singer Sargent, Sorolla, Zorn, Rembrandt, where if you look really up close, it looks like, doesn't look all that hot, but from the distance of where you're supposed to be viewing it, it just comes together. And that's exactly how I feel, you know, when I'm working, I'm trying to kind of get that feel, right? And so I'm happy with this. And let's see. I think that's okay for now, and I won't get too involved with the hair. But we definitely can see how things really started to pop right now, how things are really, like she's really coming alive. And that's important, you know, that's bringing it together. When you're at this stage of, let's say, you know, 75%, it's no longer making these big decisions. The big decisions are made at this point, and you have to live with those big decisions, right? So always remember, you know, big decisions are early in the game. If you're making a big decision at this point, chances are it's too late. Now it's time to live with your decisions and to have convictions with it and to say, this is where I'm going down this road, you know, and that's important. So I'm going to make sure that my paintbrush is really uh, clean. So now I want to come in and hit some of these darks, right? I don't believe it's quite dark enough. You know, we went ahead in her eyes and got those catch lights, which was really a lot of fun and everything. Oh man, have a great night, my friend. I hope you have a nice soda and relax. And don't work hard, my friend. It's always a pleasure to work with you, Patrick. And thank you for spending your Wednesday with me. It really means a lot to me, my friend. You are excellent. Excellent artist over there. Excellent airbrush artist. Look out for his work in the future. It's really going to come along. It's coming along, but it's really going to hit the stage. So I'm looking forward to that. I believe in that guy. All right, so now, dun dun dun, we're going to cover her up, her face, and we are going to hit some of these darks. And let's see. So this is what I mean, you know, when you're at this stage, it's all about now it's time to, you know, make it theatrical. Now it's time to really make it a painting, right? So before you're trying to get everything right and everything, now at this stage it's basically make her look, get your point across. That's where we're at right now. We're at the get our point across stage. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so when you get at this stage, a lot of times if you know how to make your shields, you're going to see that they don't fit on both sides. One side may be over to the left, over to the right. Don't let that draw you. What you're going to do is you're just going to work on one side at a time. There we go. My light's coming from the camera left. You want to make sure that the magnets that have a high profile. Can you tell I was working in blue earlier today? You don't want shadows on your artwork where you're going to spray, right? So, all right. So basically, I want to come in with a rich dark over here. It does mean I'm going to have to come in and soften those edges again, but that's what you do, you know. You make more work for yourself, but you do that to make the painting better, and that's our goal. But maybe I could make it darker, not all the way over there, right? Maybe that's what I can do. Maybe that will be a good thought process. Let's see now. Okay, I'm gonna, as Ryan J told me, to make sure I don't have my artwork sitting there when I am mixing, right? So I did heed your advice. All right, so let's get a cup. I did have an extra cup, but not anymore. Here we go, extra cup. Bam. All right, the dark of that hair. So I want my main color always to be Detail Smoke because I love it so much. Who out there uses Detail Smoke along with me and Dwayne? Who out there likes it, or have you used it before? If you're a wicked painter, the Detail Smoke, if you don't love it, you will soon once you try it. Okay, so here goes. And so looking at her, there's a lot of brown in there, but I'm going to go with, let's go with Detail Sepia, another amazing color. Now I read that it's important to actually put the 4011 in first and the 4050. So maybe I'll do that on the next one. On the next go round. Let's see. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put the 10% of the 4050. And then we're going to 4011 it. Papow. 4011. And I'm going to do probably a 1-to-1. Now let's look at how it mixes. It's interesting because it's like a real chemical process. It's not like just mixing regular acrylics. And that's cool. See, there's stuff going on there. Now I'm going to take my... Now these are not opaque colors or anything like that, so I'm not going to strain it. I don't feel it's necessary. Now if I was using something that was large pigments, then yeah, definitely it's straining time. So we're at 10:30, which is cool, Eastern time. This is a nice color. This is actually so close to the color. And you'll find, you know, it's good to have, you know, when I'm working with my students, it's good to have these little recipes and everything. But when you get to a certain stage, a lot of times it's just, you know, kind of winging it, you know, just feeling it. So let's put some of this stuff in here. Now this has been working with my inks, my Extreme Patriot Arrow. Those who are interested, I have 3 Extreme Patriot Arrows. That's going to be it for the year. So if anyone's interested, I had 5. I'm down to 3. So Mr. Dwayne, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all your wicked knowledge. And I appreciate wicked paint knowledge, not wicked knowledge, and your friendship, and really in your camaraderie ship, yes, that, and really means a lot to me, sir. And just really enjoy you here in the live stream, sir. And just like thank you on top of that, the amazing super chat. So thank you, my friend. It really helps, Dwayne. Look at the beautiful, look at that. You know, people say they have trouble with Wicked. They don't understand Wicked, right, Dwayne? If they understood it, they would realize that, you know, just because, you know, it's temperamental doesn't mean that you can't make it do exactly what you want. And that's one of the reasons why I like it. Because I got artists like yourself, you know, Mr. Leahy and Mr. McKay, just the artists who actually go after the wicked paints are like a breed of our own, right? Because we're crazy. That's for using the detail smoke with the detail sepia. Oh, that's one of your mixes. Oh, man, look how beautiful that is. And you know what's funny about that, and I'm sure you'll concur, is that you don't need to strain this because all the pigments are so small, right? So that's really cool to know. So definitely. So that is great. So right there from a Wicked expert, remember detail smoke and sepia is Mr. Dwayne's, one of his go-to mixes. Okay, let's see if this is actually deepening our darks, and that's what we want to do, right? So we'll bring this up, and we're going to deepen some of these darks. And I can actually go in and get little hairlines, which is great. So if you guys don't have the Wicked sepia, detail sepia and detail smoke, highly recommend going out and getting them. And Mr. Dwayne concurs. Now I do have some beautiful blue in the hair, in the shadows. I don't want to lose it. I just want to come in and create more depth, right? That's the main thing. And also like more depth and more contrast. Remember when I was talking about how working in black and white really makes you understand edges more, and you know when to do a hard edge and soft edge, and you know, and those things, mastering that, I wouldn't say they're the tricks, but they're the skills that the old masters used to do those amazing paintings. It's not just looking, it's not, it's important to have great observation skills, but it's not just observational skills that is getting them to that look. It's these things that these little skills which were passed down from one generation to another and kind of died with the Impressionists because Impressionists stopped going to art school. And when they did that, you know, they were still great artists, but they lost those secrets. And losing those secrets, there was a price to that. Let's move this over here. And again, we're looking for more of a punch. We want the contrast of the values and the colors, the saturation of colors, all to be where we want our viewers' eyes to go, right? So that's so crucial. So we got a nice, beautiful hard edge we can get here. Still perpendicular and not parallel. And now you can see we're taking her hair to the next level. And got a little bit of tip dry there. Maybe raise the air pressure a little bit. But here's our opportunity to create some beautiful contrast. All right, so let's just move this off and see how this looks, and then we'll work on the other side. There we go. So little more contrast here. You can see that in the zygomatic bone here, and you know, right here with her mandible, and then right here in her neck I'm just going to leave this soft, right? And so that's one of the things that we can do, you know. Mr. Brad says, as artists we don't just manipulate the painting surface, we manipulate the viewer's eyes. Yes, think of yourself like a director in a play, right? You're going to situate the actors and the lighting to exactly where you want the drama to be, right? So in this painting and in the Persephone series, the drama is always in her eyes, you know, always in her eyes and in her surroundings, right? Whether she's happy about the surroundings or sad, you know. Exactly, Brad Dwayne says, we are illusionists. Yeah, we are the last magicians, right? And so we are kind of like wizards, right? And it really is cool. So now you can see how ever so subtle, but right here there's a little bit of a smokiness. I don't like it. So I'm just going to put this back on. I thought I was done on this side, but right here I want to hit that. I can do it with a freehand shield, and I just make sure that you wipe off your freehand shield. You don't want to reposition wet paint. That would be disastrous. There we go. Just a little bit of just kind of bringing that together a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to go on this side. And I want to deepen right here by her mandible. And we really can't see her zygomatic arch here. So we're going to chill with that. So remember, it doesn't match on both sides because, you know, as you're painting, you're going to be changing things. So we're just going to worry about this side and not the other side. So I want to darken this side of her neck. It creates a contrast. This side of her neck is soft edge, this side of her neck is hard edge. In painting, variety of edges is the spice of life. Definitely. Okay, now let's get ready to rumble here. And we're going to do some test sprays. Beautiful. Doesn't mean it's going to be beautiful when I'm spraying it on her, but don't get too wet, right? You don't want to get too wet because that could just make things look horrible. Let's do a little freehand shield action here. I love working in color. I mean, I've been working in color now for almost a year. We're going out of not using color for like 3 years. And I have such a newfound love for it. It's really cool. I'm seeing it in a definite different way. And it's very interesting being away from color for a while and then jumping back into it. And it was a conscious choice. It wasn't I felt like color was too hard for me or anything like that. It was part emotional. It was part technical, right? The reason for it. Ryan, thanks so much, my friend. Have a great night, and thank you so much for spending your Wednesday with me, my friend. And stay warm up there in Canada, okay? And keep your airbrush clean and all that good stuff. Thanks so much for hanging out, my friend. I really appreciate you. So I have this color here, and I know it's kind of a rough color, but I want to deepen this. So if I go very lightly, I think it could just do a little shift, color shift, a little bit darker, and the inside of her eye sockets. Remember, the inside of her eye sockets, close to the nose, has no fat. The fat is on the outside. The retroorbicularis oculi fat is on the outside between the upper eyelid and the eyebrow. But in here, there's nothing. So that's why you see a lot of the shadow of the eye socket on the inside. And as I put that in, she's looking more, her humanity is coming out. And you can see how that really comes together. And your compressor drained, yes. Meaning I have to do that. I have 2 compressors that are sorely in need of draining my compressor. You know, it's so cool because that's red iron oxide, that stuff that comes out, you know. That rust, you can definitely make red iron oxide. Excuse me, red iron oxide with that, which is just wild. I'm really loving pigments and what color is doing, so I'm coming at color from a whole different viewpoint. And now that I'm working in oils, I mean, it really is awakening me to the magic of color. And of course, I'm going to come in with some paintbrush and do some of these individual hairs, which is going to be a lot of fun as well. So now I have this dark color, and let's see if I can get bold and do some really stray hairs with the airbrush, right? Let's see. Actually pretty good. So let's see. Dwayne says you should try using primaries and the mixing of them. Yes, I've seen a lot of that, and that's very cool. Definitely, you know, and also using the RGB and the CMYK and how they differ. It's really wild. Definitely. One of the things I'm getting into right now, Dwayne, is the whole thing of working from transparencies to opaque and utilizing the qualities of them in oil painting, and it's just blowing my mind. It really is. Because that's something that isn't taught in classical training, you know? I mean, I had an amazing education in art and some of the best art teachers ever, and we never discussed in depth the difference between the transparents and opaques and semi-transparents and semi-opaques and mixing them, and how it's important to have all those colors. And Dwayne says, I did that when you first started out because I couldn't afford all the fancy colors. Oh, how cool. Yeah, I see a lot of people do that. And that's wild, definitely. And Brad says, your India ink mixtures are kick-ass for underpaintings. Thank you for a lot of mediums. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I've used them for pastel, for airbrush, my India inks. I used it for oils. And also great as a fine art medium in itself, right? That's how I got into airbrush from the very beginning, was that I was basically doing it only as underpaintings, but fell in love with it. Let's see, just kind of hit some. Now it's good, it's important when you're doing these to stagger, right? You don't want a dark, dark, dark. You do a dark, a light here, a dark, kind of stagger it, right? That's important. Let's see if we can get our friend Blackbeard Wheat. So we're actually at the Blackbeard Wheat stage. You know, that's when it's getting to the end, right? When Blackbeard Wheat makes an appearance. Let's see. And it's very subtle. It doesn't make a big difference, but you know, it feels good to get some of these kind of very organic shapes. And you can see it's falling apart, and that's normal. But just get some of these kind of random kind of strokes in there, which is really important. And yeah, so definitely. So here's what's interesting. So here are some of the takeaways. So when I was young, I learned how to draw first, and then I was 15, I was introduced to oil painting. And then I studied oil painting for about 8 years. And then I was introduced to pastel, and then from pastel I was introduced to colored pencils as a painting medium. So you name it, I've done it. But I'm able to kind of use all those to help me. And so one of the big things about pastel is most pastel artists have like 300 pastels, if not more, thousands, right? And then oil painters are like, you must use your palette of only 8 colors. And I think they missed the boat there, because it's good to know how to work with a few colors. But like a pastel painter or an airbrush artist, you're going to use cool colors. You're going to use the, you know, this Wicked Laguna blue. Why wouldn't you use it, right? Why wouldn't you have that in your repertoire? And so as an oil painter, when I have my palette and I have 32 colors, most oil painters are like, that's horrible. And I'm like, no, it's not, because there's a need for those colors, right? You know, so, but from what Dwayne is saying, it's good to limit your palette so you're not, you know, you learn about color more, and that's what he means, you know, and it's true. I imagine he learned a lot about color, right, from that, Dwayne? Definitely, right? Now down here we have this hair coming down, and I'm just going to try and airbrush that. There we go. And it's nice because the airbrush gives us that nice soft edge. So for hair, there's no better medium than airbrush. But that's why, because like when I go ahead and use oils, I have a color. So if I have a red, like a naphthol red, I have a counterpart in a semi-opaque, a semi-transparent, and a transparent. If I have a raw umber, I have a counterpart in a semi-opaque, a semi-transparent, and a transparent. So it's important to do that. And so that's really, really crucial to, you know, not get stuck with the dogma of some of these artists were like, I only use 7 colors, and that's so wrong, you know. And Dwayne says that's exactly what he means. Sometimes back to basic returns things we already knew but forgot to use. Yes. And that's why someone at your level, Dwayne, should have students for your sake, because it always brings you back to the fundamentals because you're teaching it. And I know for me, if I am, you know, working just on my own, I tend to kind of get lost and kind of do things that are against the fundamentals. And the fundamentals is really important. So a lot of times when I'm working with a student, I'm doing a demo, I have to go slower. And when I go slower, I'm more careful, and I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this on my own. I'm being Mr. Speedy Gonzalez when I should slow things down. So yeah, teaching has been such an important element in my growth as an artist. So Dwayne, what do you think of the Lifeline set? What do you think of that? And now I'm adding some of this to her strap. It has like a bluish color, but this smoke and detail sepia is really kind of calming down this color. That's what we're trying to do too, is kind of unify things, right? And so Dwayne says he does much work on different things, different ways, and I'm always learning and remembering. Yeah, definitely. You know, your work's incredible. You know, and I'm sure if you wanted to, you would get like tons of students. So that is really cool. And let's see. Oh, I want to separate her shoulder from the back of that dress there. The sleeve, the inside of the sleeve. So it's a good all-purpose color, isn't it, Dwayne? This sepia color. I can use it to darken the skin tones. And we'll go on this over here. You can darken the skin tones a little bit here. Dwayne says he only has a couple of Lifeline colors, mostly use the Bloodline. They fit more closely with the fantasy art. Oh, wow, cool. That's wild. And I'm going to make sure. And let's see. Let's go right here. There we go. I want to have a nice hard edge by her ear. And then right down here, I want to darken this. I want this to be a deep color where her hair is. I have what I'm going to be doing for next week. Uh, I don't know if I'm going to be continuing her next week. I think I'm pretty much going to finish this from here. But next week I have another Subway series. So that's going to be interesting. Also, I can use this dark color very light because it's still transparent, and I can just calm down the highlights in her hair. Okay, so now I have this color, and one of the things that you want to do is you want to repeat colors, right? You know, like an outfit. And so I'm just going to come in and just kind of darken some colors here. And kind of create a little bit more detail in the background. Dwayne says sepia is the go-to color for him. It just works for many things. Detail, smokes, and Payne's gray also. Wow. So yeah, what a great bit of knowledge that is dropped with us. So tell me about Payne's gray. Detail Payne's gray. It's a little bit of a bluish color. How would you use that differently, Dwayne? Let's say from your sepia. I'd love to hear. And I know everyone out there would love to hear as well. I'm just kind of working on the corner back there. And maybe the side of her face, of this person back there. And maybe a little bit more strength in this bag that this gentleman has. So it's interesting about detail smoke. Detail Payne's gray. I love Payne's gray. That was a color that Harvey always made me use. So there's some colors which I'd love Createx to get. One would be Davies gray. I love Davies gray in oils. It's just perfect for getting that kind of smoky greenish mid-tone in flesh. So I do love Davies gray. Now Davies gray is not a pure pigment, but it's a mixture. Bluish or purplish for him, sepia, Payne's gray, and detail smoke when using shadow. Oh wow, okay, so that would be more of your deeper shadows, but when you're going for more of a fleshy color, you use the sepia and the detail smoke, right, sir? That's cool. So listen to that, guys. So that's why it's important to get these colors when you... And I really would love, if you haven't worked in the Wicked, I'd really love it if you guys try it. And just challenge yourselves, right? To do sort of something that, you know, is not really, not many artists are using the Wicked. And we have some dark coming up here. Just a little bit detail on these posters. And just super soft edged over there. So my teacher, Harvey Dinnerstein. So I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I know this is going to be cool. Let me get a book on my teacher, Harvey Dinnerstein, and I think you guys are going to love it. And I love sharing that. You know, my influences, and I'll be right back. Before I pack up my books, I only have a few books unpacked, and this is the one book here. So let's put Persephone aside. Let me put her here. So it's quite an exploration, this painting. It was, you know, it's a lot of fun to kind of, you know, go outside our comfort zone and do things that we haven't done before. And that's what this painting is, like really going a deep dive into the psychology of painting, of my painting, and sharing that with you guys. Okay, so Harvey Dinnerstein. This is my mentor who I studied with. I learned oils. I learned drawing. I learned how to see. I learned so much. I am just so much in debt to this man. And so those who are painting in the subways, this was the guy who really started it. And so let's take a look at some of Harvey's work here. And he's one of the first painters in modern day to make pastels a full medium in itself. I'm gonna see on this side because we have, so that was Harvey right there. Let me get rid of, no one needs to see my logo right now. So that's Harvey right there. Just this really soft-spoken genius of a painter. Let me see if I can put Harvey in focus. There he is. Born and raised in Brooklyn, lived his whole life in Brooklyn, New York. Just incredible. One of the things that made him the most famous was a painting called, let me see if we have it, you know, his most famous painting. I kind of have to stay away from the nudes, I think, just because of Facebook. So these are some of his pastel paintings that he did, which are quite amazing. He also did a lot of paintings during the social unrest in the 60s, which was so incredible. You know, that was his generation. But look at his pastels, man. They're just out of this world, you know. Oh, Brad says he has that book. So cool. So that is great. And let's see. So like I said, I'm going to stay away from any nudes. This is amazing how he worked in both in pastel and oil. And this one is actually an oil painting, which is just incredible. And he did a lot of these kind of festival paintings in New York City, multiple figure compositions. Just incredible, his use of color. Let's see. So he did landscapes, but landscapes, you know, that had meaning, you know, something behind it. Every artist does a 4 seasons, and he did a 4 seasons of this tunnel here. I believe this tunnel is in Central Park, if I'm not mistaken. So you see it in the spring, the summer, you got summer here, and then you have winter. It's just really cool. That's Harvey working in his studio. Just incredible. So he was very good in oils as well as in pastel, which is really fantastic. That's his son. Whoop, you can't see it. That's his son. Just really amazing. He's just ahead of his time. And so right over here, some of the work that he does, the way he does portraiture. And that's, I think, my biggest takeaway from Harvey is that intense uh, portraiture. That's the portrait of him and the great artist Bert Silverman. See if I can get the glare out of that. That's Bert Silverman. But definitely his love of portraiture is really what, I got from him. And just working in pastel and oils. And I remember he did this when I was a student under him. This was back in 1987. That's when I was studying with Harvey. Just incredible stuff. This is an interesting painting. So I remember he painted this in 1986. And I don't know if you can see this. So I was talking with Harvey, and we never did airbrush or talked about airbrush. It was frowned upon. But one of the things he said to kind of get this kind of chrome thing, he actually used like one of those paint brushes that you use with your mouth to get the fixative on there, because this is actually a pastel on board. So just very interesting. So it was kind of my first exposure to pastel, to airbrush, or an airbrush type of thing. So that was really wild. And I'm just going to go over a few more things. So now when I talk about Harvey, who it is, right? So some of his city scenes, a lot of time he was in a lot of his paintings. His wife was, his kids. See this guy, this musician, I painted him at the National Academy School of Fine Arts when I studied with him. And just incredible stuff. And, nobody knows. This is his wife, Lois. She was an art historian. So that was pretty wild. So yep, so that's it. So that's about Harvey. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And then we'll bring Persephone back. And okay, so that's why I do what I do. This is the influence, you can't take that away, you can take the artist out of the National Academy School of Fine Arts, but you can't take the National Academy School of Fine Arts out of the artist, right? So who you study with is who you are, right? So for the most part, you're going to go your own way, but you're always going to have that DNA of your artistic mother or father, right? It sounds weird, but it's totally true. And Mr. Dwayne says, anything but skin and food. What type of surfaces? Oh, great. Thank you so much. That was perfect. Dwayne was asking some great question, answering some great question by Brad. What surfaces do you use, Wicked? And he said everything but skin and food. So that's cool. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. And let's see how this works. It might be good. I wanted to deepen the nostril a little bit. Just a tad. So you notice at this stage, you're not making any big decisions. You're just making little changes here and there. Changes that, don't mean much to anything, maybe not even to the painting, but to the artist, right? Let's see. Perfect. So great. So great to have you guys here today, you guys and girls. Thank you so much for hanging with me. We are at 11:11 during the 11th month. That is so cool. So 11 seems to be our number tonight. Now I may come in and kind of, work on the hair, maybe intensify the colors over here. I might do that. That's something that we might go ahead and do. Let's see. Mr. Steve Leahy, how are you, sir? Great to see you. How are you doing back in Ohio? Everything all back to normal, sir? So glad you're here. And I'm just going to kind of make her lips more three-dimensional. Soften them up. Less cartoony. It's all about trying to create a sense of life. And Dwayne says, Steve says it's never normal. That's funny. Colette says she's looking amazing. Thank you. And Colette says, what's normal? So funny. And Dwayne says, what is normal as well? So you guys are on the same wavelength, and that's funny. I'm looking for normal. Haven't found it yet. Now, it's funny. Okay, so there was this really good movie. It's called Really Love, and I really liked it. Let me see if I can just show you. It's on Netflix. It's also on. It's on Netflix, and it's also on Prime. But I think you got to pay $3.99 to rent it. And let me see if I could find it. Let's see here. Come over here. YouTube. So I'll show you what it is. And I highly recommend it. It's really cool to see movies about artists, right? It's super important because then we don't really feel like complete freaks because we're doing this, right? And let me see if I can find a trailer for this, and then I'll show you. There we go. So I'm going to show you it, and it's really cool. So let me see. Here we are, and I'm going to display this. So I'm going to go here. Maybe it's here. Let's see. I'm getting better at this stuff. I hope you know. Okay, here we go. So here is the movie.
Black people are as extraordinary and normal at the same time.
And it's cool to see, artists from an African American perspective, and modern and everything. And it was really cool. And this is just like about a young artist, and he's just trying to make it, in a world where people are saying get a regular job and all this other stuff. And it's really great. The artwork is really very interesting, and it's just cool to see. So one of the things that I found interesting, there was a line in this movie where they kind of took the line from the movie Pollock, which is by Ed Harris, about the life of the abstract expressionist Jackson Pollock, right? And he basically, she was looking at a painting and she said, how do you know when a painting's finished? And I was like, oh my God, they took it right from Pollock, but they did a different take. So when someone from Time magazine asked Jackson Pollock back in the day, how do you know when a painting is finished? He said, how do you know when you're done making love? And that's interesting. You just know, right? Same thing. Now, when in this movie, she asked him, and she says, how do you know when a painting's finished? And in this movie, they said, how do you know when you're making love? So that was interesting. It was kind of interesting. They almost went down the route of, copying, but it's interesting. So with that being said, I want to hear from you all who are still here or watching this on live stream. How do you know when a painting is finished? Right? How do you guys know? And that would be cool. So that's the question I'm going to point out to you. How do you know when you are done expressing what you want to express? So love to hear your thoughts. For me, it is just a feeling. It's just I know when it's over. I know that I just don't really want to work on it anymore. I'm done, and it's complete. And it sometimes they're at different degrees of completion. Sometimes they're like really worked a lot, and sometimes, you know, I normally would say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but it's actually done, you know? So that's important. So for me, it's just this feeling, and I guess that's what they're talking about, is that there's no like, okay, there's this parameter and that parameter, and when that happens, you're done. It's not that easy. It's a totally different thing. Even when I'm doing a portrait commission, it's the same thing. It's unless that person commissioned me says, I want this, I want that, then I'm not done. But as far as when I feel, also I find when I have a certain surface texture, that's important too. And I am still, you guys are still watching the movie. So let's see. Are you guys seeing my painting, or are you seeing my hand and the movie? Which one are you seeing, guys? So there might be like a real wicked delay with this. So I might be a few minutes ahead of you, time-wise. Okay, the painting. Good, good. Uh, oh, Brett says, I tell him when he's in my class. Yes, when you're studying with me, I'll probably be the one to tell you when it's done. But when you're on your own, that's when you'll know. But that's funny he said that. Because when you are studying, your teacher tells you when you're done, right? That cracks me up. So there's this interesting blue-green here. Really interesting blue-green. And I am going to hit this with a blue-green. I'm not sure why the blue-green is there, but let's go ahead and hit that. So we're at 11:20 and we're getting close to the finish line. So I'm looking for, it's actually a green, right? It's might even be an excuse for me to use the Wicked Phthalo green. Notice that I'm staying with Wicked, right? I'm not leaving Wicked. Uh, and I think that's important not to veer off. Um, let's see. So I'm looking for Viridian. Oh no, Phthalo green. Oh, here's a detail blue green, but it's not as radioactive as that phthalo green that I love. Let me see, is this it? All hiding from me? Isn't that something? The one that's hiding from you, that's the one that you need. Okay, here it is. Wicked Phthalo green. And it's a transparent pigment, right? Phthalo green is just a transparent pigment. I believe it was invented in like 1950s. Don't quote me. And let's get another cup. So today we work mainly in transparents and the pigments of the colors. And that's something I think is important to learn about your pigments. Learn how they're made, how they're ground, what size they are. And that's going to give you a good idea of how to treat them, you know? Uh, Colette says, I tell Tim when my painting is done. He tells me no. That's true. When you're in my class, that part is not up for discussion, right? That's so funny. So I'm going to take a little bit of this Phthalo blue and I'm going to mix it far away from my painting. So I'm moving, and it's so funny. My main consideration is, of course, my cat and also my work, right? Isn't that funny? You know, how, you know, we have different needs than most people. So I don't have a place yet, but we are praying that I am praying that I find a good place that's affordable and safe. A little more. I'm going to 4011 it a little bit more. So phthalo green, you know, a lot of greens people will use for landscapes. You don't want to use this color for landscapes. It's just not a natural green. It just looks weird. And so you really would have it more as a mixing color, but there's really very few reasons to have to use this color on its own. But it does some really, when you mix it with yellow, you get some interesting greens, but by itself, it's kind of freaky. Okay, so we're going to use the Extreme Patriot 105. Colette says, "Nice try, definitely. Always, always half credit for effort." Thank you guys, whoever is here. There's three of yous. Thank you for hanging out and staying till the very end. I really appreciate yous. So now I have this color, but I'm going to test it, right? Let's test it over here. So okay, so here's a quick test. Can someone tell me, you get free candy at the cash register on the way out if you answer this question. What is my surface? What's the surface I worked on in this painting? See, there's a little bit of a kind of a weird kind of green there. I'm just going to hit that right there. Maybe a little bit of this green here. It is a subway, so it has some weird lights going on, stuff like that. Just some hints of this phthalo color here and there, just to create some interest. Okay, shellac, yes, Colette, you're there on gray. On gray what? Which is so cool. And I am definitely the first airbrush artist to use the shellac. And on gray paper, yes. So in the beginning, I did a detailed line drawing. I went over it with Airbrush and India ink. Airbrush, after the Airbrush and India ink, and I was happy with the underpainting, I went ahead and shellacked it. I erased all the pencil lines, I shellacked it. Waited 24 hours for the shellac to completely dry within the fibers of the paper. Once that is done, it is totally ready. Your underpainting is locked underneath, and you are ready to go in with layers upon layers of airbrush color. You know, wicked. I could go here and do many, many more layers. It's the perfect 20 cents it cost me. 20 cents, which is really cool. Canson paper with shellac, definitely And so that's cool. Air Todd says he's still here watching the World Series. Oh, wow. Who's winning? Texas? Because I know if they win tonight, they win the World Series. Dwayne is laughing. So we're just hitting some of this little bit of green here. I'm even putting it places where it's not, just to kind of have that eye bounce around a little bit, right? Maybe I can put a little bit of this green in her dress. What do you say? Just a little bit, right? Just to, you know why? Because I can. Just a little bit of green there. Maybe the green is nicer. So before the end of the night, I want to thank the people the wonderful members who gave the super chats. Mr. Dwayne, thank you, my friend. Mr. Brad, I appreciate you so much. Mr. Mike, I appreciate you. You guys are just amazing. Thank you so much. It just means the world to me. So I appreciate you hanging out. Appreciate your talking and sharing your thoughts and everything with me and everybody. So I do like this green on her dress. So there are times when you are going to do things that are not in your image, your reference image. And that's important. And you want to experiment, right? You want to do things that, might scare some people. But that's okay. Be scary. Little bit of green over here. Texas won 5-0. So the Texas Rangers are the world champions, I believe. Right? Colette, have a great night. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate you. And I'll talk to you very soon. And I will tell you when your painting's done in class. Outside of class, you're the boss, okay? So cool. So now we have a really nice color scheme going on here. And again, I'm not done per se. I think I'm going to be done as far as this live streams are concerned. But I will work on a little bit, maybe add some color here near her clavicle, maybe put a little more detail in her dress because she's in focus, but that's about it. Why the move? Not my fault. The owner sold the house and then I got to move, my friend, which sucks. So it was unplanned and kind of rushed, so kind of scurrying to move. So, but thanks for asking, Mr. Todd. Steve says, looks amazing. He's going to watch what he missed in the morning. Thank you, sir. I'm looking forward to your live stream tomorrow as well. And tomorrow at 1:30, Mr. Steve Leahy, I believe, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Dwayne says, night all. Have a great week. Beautiful work, Tim. Mr. Dwayne, thank you so much for the super chat and your great thoughts and your experiences on Wicked and the Payne's Gray. I am going to be using that a lot more in my next work. So you're creating a monster, sir. Everybody, it is 11:31. I think I started at 11:31. So I gave you the full 8 hours. No, full 2 hours, 8 hours. That would be a lot. That would be a live stream from, really bad live stream for me. So guys, thank you so much. And next week, I believe we're going to start something new. Pretty sure. I have everything all set up anyway. Guys, God bless. And I really appreciate you. And, you're my friends. And that's how I look at it. So thank you for being my friends, guys. I appreciate it. Especially this time. I really need friends. So bye, guys.